So if you include the home build and all the planning, this is like a year's worth of effort all rolled up into one video, and I hope you enjoy it. Hello YouTubers, this is a noobifier. I've been waiting over a year to make this video for you, and I'm very excited to share what I've found out. You may have your own reasons to be interested in such a thing, but mine are the moments, the milestones, and the memories. I can now, because of this, imagine a completely impossible situation and make it possible. You become better, you become quicker, you learn, but you must have fun and you must share the best moments of your life whenever you get the chance. 3 years ago, my QS S35 arrived. The original video for that system is linked up for you right now. When I first described what QS S25 was for my dad, he was skeptical. I actually remembered the first thing coming out of his mouth being, "It's how much?" But he was obviously interested. When he first saw a picture of it, he became more interested in testing it. And when he saw the first videos of it in operation, the teasers, he became very excited. Didn't take very long for him to get in his car and drive the 2 hours to visit. Find it interesting that wanting what we can't have is an aspect of human nature. I've accepted that I'm never going to have an opportunity to drive a Formula 1 car. No one would give me the keys to that guy. And I've accepted that I'm going to never likely have someone close down the Nürburgring so I can have a private laughing session. And before, I figured it would be impossible to spend time chasing my dad in a Formula 1 car on an iconic track. Normally, I can't have these things, and normally, I wouldn't be able to share such a moment. Simulation continues to evolve. We're getting closer to that perfection, and it's an exciting time to be alive. If you go back 14 years, such a thing was practically science fiction, being only available for science, government, or military applications. So I appreciate the memories and experiences that such a system provides me. 3 years ago, I first followed my dad when he tested QS S25. Last month, its successor arrived, and the only thing that was on my mind was, what would he think of this newer system? Would he notice any differences right away? And if he did, would it make all types of simulation more immersive? How would more elevate the already incredible experience of the QS S25? When QS S35 arrived, it was clearly so much more than more, and a couple common threads kept coming up: improvement and evolution. When something evolves in nature, we hope and expect that this new thing would be an improvement over the original. Evolution in engineering a newer version of an existing thing is mainly about addressing shortcomings. The QS S35 in no way is replacing the QS S25, and in no way I'm saying that the QS S25 has shortcomings. The QS S35, however, is designed to provide a wider performance envelope. Qubic was able to increase the performance from 10 centimeters to over 30 centimeters, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it is. Having 6 actuators paired together in 3 triangles is what's known as a Stewart platform. A properly designed Stewart platform, controlled precisely, operates smoothly. It's not about turning, pitching, or heaving for the sake of moving you. These systems turn, pitch, and heave you so that you are feeling the sensation appropriate to the situation. The system can perform regular moves that you feel, and the system will also perform ghost or check moves that you probably won't and are not meant to feel. These all happen automatically behind the scenes to seal the immersion. Imagine that you're about to go over 3 back-to-back jumps in a rally stage. The system would ghost lower in preparation for the feeling of compression and then lightness of flight. Without the constant stream of ghost moves that occur automatically, the system would rarely be able to provide the best simulation because it would be out of its performance envelope. I've been covering the performance envelope because it is what sets these systems apart from others. I think I can explain this quickly. If the maximum excursion of a system is 10 centimeters in X, Y, or Z, you might be inclined to just say that that's the performance envelope, but it's not that simple. The QS S35 aims to minimize a disadvantage of the Stewart platform's design. If you commit 100% extension in any single direction, the system will not be able to easily move anywhere until it returns. And this is why the ghost moves are so important. Think of them as a reset after each main movement. You get the full heave to feel the jump, and then the system does a check and the simulation can continue. This process is visible to the spectator and it becomes invisible to the occupant. The easiest way to increase the performance envelope of the QS S25 would be longer, quicker actuators, and this is exactly what was done. Longer, quicker actuators allow the new system to spend more envelope to make you feel a bump in the road, but because there's more envelope, you're able to feel the sharp angles of Eau Rouge, the weightlessness of dropping into the corkscrew at Laguna Seca, or the lateral violence of Foxhole when lapping the ring. I was expecting this newly added more to be more, but I wasn't expecting it to change the drive dynamics so much. It's impacting more than just the driving. If you fancy yourself a pilot as well, there's some real advantages for this new system for flight. Obviously, there will always be limitations when simulating motion in flight. Planes are able to form dives and banks sharper and for longer than a car or a truck. Planes are also often inverted when performing a roll or an Immelman. Again, we want to simulate the effect and feeling, not just flipping you over for the sake of it. When you execute a perfect 1G roll, what should that feel like? You just went upside down, but what would that feel like? Your eyes would tell your brain that you are rolling, but your inner ear and your body may not feel much of a difference. So again, simulating motion is never as simple as aiming you, and it's easier to overcome flight sim limitations with more range. One of my clients explained in great detail what he was hoping to get out of his system. He wanted to feel sustained G-forces, which needs more aggressive platform angles. So during takeoff and initial climb, you can achieve the feeling of sustained G in a QS S35, but it's much more pronounced with more platform tilt. The overall flight experience with QS S35 is more believable for flying nape of earth down a riverbed in a helicopter. The greater bank angles and velocity bring a smile to your face. If you try banking sharply in a Cessna to line up with final approach, the extra range of QS S35 will make a big difference. Finally, this system is capable of better sustained G loading while experiencing turbulence from thermals and your inputs to change your flight path. This new system has more envelope to spend. It's more fun, it can be more immersive, and it is a better training aid. And before we move on, I wanted to say again that the QS S25 is still a wicked drive with range, tilt, and speed. But like everything that's good, eventually something new comes along. Up to now, I hope I was successful in covering the feeling, but I also think it's important to cover the real-world details and some logistical considerations that come with owning a system like this. Unlike the V20 and QS S25, which we have installed pretty much anywhere for our customers, the QS S35 is simply too large, too heavy, and too powerful to be installed just anywhere. I knew about S35 for quite some time, and I knew I needed one in the showroom. The story of moving to the new house and building it is linked up for you right now. The original plans for the new studio were tweaked a lot and beefed up. I needed to consider power, physical size, and weight. This is the first Qubic system that will not operate on 120 volts. This is the first Qubic system that will only ship assembled. This is the first Qubic system where the triple screen mount is included and should be the recommended monitor setup unless VR is the option that you want. And then, of course, shipping and delivery, these are more complex as well. This is the first Qubic system that cannot be lowered by a standard lift gate of a delivery truck. Logistically, this is nothing like the other systems, with much more planning required to execute a clean install. To explain, I would like to quickly go over the special changes that were made to the new studio. And when I say new, we took possession of it last week. The three categories I wanted to consider were power, doors, and floor. And this was when designing the studio. Power needs to be 240 volt single phase and a minimum of 17 amps. When designing the power for the new house many months ago, I had no confirmation on what the actual production requirements would be, so we just went big. We opted to install one that I knew would work. 240 volts at 50 amps is the same plug that you might install if you own an EV and want to charge it as quickly as possible. The best part about that is that it's quite common and all electricians will have no trouble understanding what you want. Plus, if your house is quite new, it's actually possible that the builder had already added one of those into the garage. If you're in Europe, you don't have to worry about any of this stuff because you already have 240 volts. If you're in North America, we can easily source or fabricate the correct power wire. There are four basic types of plugs that in theory would work in North America. This plug is rated to 15 amps at 240 and is incompatible because it's below the needs of the system. This plug is rated to 20 amps at 240 volts, which is a little bit better than the 17 amps needed. I'd consider that to be the minimum, but it's not preferred. Some houses have a blue ring twist lock receptacle, and these are rated for 30 amps and they're normally for generators or charging your EV. The plug is suitable and it's easy to source the required wire because it's a standard plug. The basic dryer plug is 240 volts at 30 amps, and then there's a slight variation to that plug, which is the one that we installed in the studio, 240 volts at 50 amps. If your electrical panel is close to where you want the system, it would be actually very easy to add a suitable circuit. Doors was the next factor. The 8-foot wide shipping box was just able to clear the 9-foot wide garage door when it was delivered. You can see from the photos that we needed to have a forklift on site to unload. The box extends beyond the lift gate and the weight was also beyond the limits of the lift. These are things that we will manage for you as part of your delivery. Unpacked, the system can be raised using a 36mm socket and then rolled around on a set of casters, which are included. The system is 1 metric ton or 2,200 pounds. Despite this, on a level floor, it's actually quite easy to move it around. The system is 2 meters wide, just shy of 7 feet for my American friends. It shouldn't be taken apart, and it's too heavy to safely tilt it up on its side to clear a narrow door. Once in position, it's easy to fine-tune the spot with lasers and tape measures and lower it where it should be. And finally, we have the floor. Most home garages would be suitable, providing that the grade was mostly level. When planning, we asked the builder to deviate from their normal build standard. They normally apply a slight grade towards the garage door on final polish, but the 3,000 square foot heated slab is flat, with only the last meter towards the door graded for water runoff. We knew the system would need to be bolted to the floor, and we knew the system's basic size. When our contractor laid the tubing for the in-floor heating, they were asked to leave a 3x3 meter square without tubes so that we would have no risk of drilling in and causing a rupture. Cement floors have rebar, which will support a lot of weight, but extra planning was made to account for how the system operates. The wide base plate is stable and heavy, and that leaves the cradle where you and your gear are moved. Your weight plus the seat, screens, wheels, and pedals are carried in the cradle. All of that adds up and all of it moves, sometimes very violently and sometimes with rhythmic oscillation. I'm no structural engineer, but I have considered how 1 ton moving around isn't the same stressor as a static load like a parked truck. The solution was that the gravel bed started a little bit lower, leaving us with a thicker total slab. So in summary, a suitable location would need to have 240 volts at 30 amps, a 9-foot wide garage door, and a level cement slab with at least 8 foot square unoccupied space to operate. In general, the setup is quite easy. The updated triple screen mount is well planned out, solid, and it's very pretty. The screens I mounted have external power bricks, so with some creativity, these have been tucked away inside in that dead space behind the monitor mount. With some trial and error, time invested in aligning the screens is never wasted because once this is done perfect, the triple screen mount is solid. I went with the maximum recommended size of 32 inches per screen. They are 16:9 with a curve of R1500. In this size, there are many options on the market from 1080p, 2K, and 4K. You also have LED and OLED from 60Hz to 240Hz. Unlike the QS S25, which works perfectly well with floor-mounted screens, the QS S35 has so much more envelope that the screens actually need to follow you. When the platform raises 30 centimeters and tilts down 30 degrees, your line of sight is so far displaced that it would break the immersion on fixed screens. I have been considering testing 3 large screens fixed on the ground for systems dedicated for flight training, and this would only be done to free up the space for a replica dash for your favorite plane. And this is why the new studio also has a new workshop. I'm going to speak about how the new system is shipped and some of the custom work that I have done, and then I will end on my thoughts and some final considerations. The unit is shipped mostly assembled with the screen mount removed to reduce the height. You get a manual and a box with all the wires and bolts that you need. You get the updated MC10, which now has a USB Type-C, and you get the casters. All of the wiring is done for you and it's tucked into the frame, and then the control boxes are tucked below a clean-looking cover. If you need to access everything, you can simply release some bolts and remove the cover for service. The unit shipped to me with an updated pedal and seat mount. This is a single unit attached to the floor with seat brackets for side bolts. I noticed that because of the width, it was impossible to attach that standard below the bolt seat and rail, and I'm always looking for new ways to quickly switch between driving and flight. If it takes you more than 5 minutes to switch, you probably won't. So I removed, measured, and cut, and then restored the front part, which was the updated pedal mount. This new mount offers more range of adjustment and is really solid. I really like it, but it's narrow, which limits what sort of flight pedals can be attached, which is why I've used the Torque Ace from Whirlpool. They can be adjusted very narrow. For the seat, I repurposed the seat mounting system from Monster Tech with a couple of adjustments. I now retain a low-seated position. I have a seat slider, but more importantly, both sides and the front have aluminum profile, which means that I can take MTS flight modules from anywhere and attach them in seconds. When you buy a system from us, I'm going to ensure that these options are the ones that you will have at your disposal. Without removing the wheelbase, the shifter, or park brake, I was able to add parts that I needed to fly in about 3 minutes. All wires are plug and play, you just select a new profile and launch the game. Qubic has always provided little updates to systems in increments, and what you receive in the future, if you order, might look a little bit different because this is Gen 1. Qubic has always provided little updates to systems in increments as good ideas are discovered. I'm going to end the video with a quick dose of transparency. I'm a huge fan of hardware, games, and toys, and I guess when you get older, your toys and games tend to grow up with you. Despite being a distributor for and offering on-site installation for Qubic, this video was not sponsored in any way as I paid for the system myself. I was part of discussions early on to help tackle how to make the system work with North American power standards, and this is why noobifier Media had the first system for testing and for review. noobifier Media has expanded in 2025, offering a try before you buy service for those who would be willing to visit. Our studio was designed to be the best environment for you to see for yourself what it's all about, including a workshop for custom work and fabrication. I am a distributor for Qubic Systems, and Kyle and I continue to offer installation services. We've experienced and overcome little install setbacks over the years, and we know how to fix and pivot. Another real benefit is that we know how to do custom work and the fine details. So we come to the end, and I thank you for watching. Having spent so many years in QS S35, I was initially skeptical about how much I might notice the changes. When the system lifts before your play session, you're so much higher than you would normally be that you actually need to look down when talking to a bystander. The system is imposing and impressive, a true cornerstone of any room or setup. After posting some photos on social media, I had friends who I hadn't spoken to in years. All of a sudden, they're like, "Hey, we should catch up. Can I come over?" It's a funny story, but it really underscores the impression and effect. I can choose any track, any car, any race. I can choose to fly jets or helicopters for fun or in scenarios, day or night. When I get too familiar lapping a GT4 car at Spa, I can add rain, or I can set it to night to really spice things up. Having several systems opens up fun and enjoyment with friends. We live in exciting times where what was considered science fiction is now science reality, and this is the first time that I've tested something where the sum equals more than the equation. I hope I was able to convey all of that to you. Thank you so much for spending your time with me. Please look in the description for more information on these systems and how to get in touch. Please subscribe so I can help to keep you up to date. Sim safe.